There's an ancient saying that the way you begin your day determines how you live your life. For most of my existence, I began each day in chaos, hitting snooze buttons like they were prayers to a God who wasn't listening, stumbling through mornings with the grace of a broken compass.
A piece of wisdom a day.
8 years ago, I was a man adrift. I collected good intentions like seashells on a beach, beautiful but ultimately scattered and purposeless. I would buy books that remained unopened, join gyms that knew me only as a monthly payment, download meditation apps that collected digital dust in my phone. Today, I pilot aircraft through the heavens and craft words that touch souls. But this isn't a story about achievement. It's a story about awakening, about discovering that transformation doesn't come from grand gestures, but from sacred moments repeated with devotion. Let me share with you the 6-part morning ritual that didn't just change what I do, it changed who I am. We live in a culture obsessed with extremes. Wake up at 4 a.m., exercise for 2 hours, read 3 books a week, meditate until enlightenment strikes like lightning. This is the great deception of our time, the belief that transformation requires violence against our current selves. I fell prey to this illusion countless times. I would launch myself into fitness routines with the intensity of a warrior going to battle, only to surrender after days, wounded by my own ambition. I would devour self-help books in marathon sessions, hoping to absorb wisdom like a sponge absorbs water, only to find my mind more cluttered than before. The ancient philosophers understood what we have forgotten, that the oak tree doesn't grow strong by fighting the wind, but by bending with it day after day, season after season. Your soul is not a problem to be solved with force. It's a garden to be tended with patience, and every garden needs a ritual of care, performed not once with great fanfare, but daily with quiet devotion. This realization led me to discover what I now call the 6 sacred elements of morning. In the quiet hours before the world awakens, when the veil between dreams and reality is thinnest, I perform 6 simple acts of self-communion. First, the breath of presence. 10 minutes of meditation, not to escape the world, but to arrive fully in it. I sit in the simple space of my bathroom, where honesty lives, and breathe with the rhythm of existence itself. Second, the vision of tomorrow. 3 minutes gazing upon my vision board, not wishful thinking, but soul-level alignment with who I am becoming. I let my future self speak to my present moment. Third, the words of becoming. 2 minutes of affirmations. Ancient cultures knew that words carry power. I speak truth over my life until my soul believes what my mind is learning to accept. Fourth, the wisdom of ages. 5 minutes reading words that matter. Not news or notifications, but thoughts that have survived the test of time and souls who have walked before us. Fifth, the sacred scribing. 5 minutes of journaling, pouring yesterday's lessons onto paper and setting intentions for today's journey. The pen becomes a bridge between heart and mind. Sixth, the temple of movement. 20 minutes honoring this vessel that carries my spirit through the world. Not punishment, but celebration. Not force, but flow. Total time, 45 minutes. But here's the sacred secret. I began with just 7 minutes. 2 for breathing, 1 for each of the others. The smallest possible offering to my future self. There is profound wisdom in the Japanese concept of kaizen, improvement through small, continuous changes. But this goes deeper than productivity. This touches the very nature of how souls transform. When I started this ritual 8 years ago, I wasn't trying to become a pilot or a writer. I was trying to become someone who could trust himself with small promises. Someone who could look in the mirror and see integrity staring back. Every morning I cast a vote for the person I wished to become, not with grand declarations that echo and fade, but with quiet actions that accumulate like snowflakes, becoming avalanches. The first sacred truth: start ridiculously small. Your ego will resist this. It wants grand gestures, dramatic transformations, stories worth telling at dinner parties. But your soul knows better. Your soul knows that 2 minutes of genuine meditation plants deeper roots than 2 hours of restless striving. The second sacred truth: create sacred rewards. After completing my ritual, I allowed myself one small pleasure: my favorite coffee, prepared with mindfulness and gratitude. This wasn't just a reward, it was a sacrament, a moment to acknowledge that I had shown up for myself once again. The third sacred truth: mark sacred time. I recorded each day simply in my calendar. Morning ritual with a check mark. These small marks became a rosary of commitment. Each bead a day I chose growth over comfort, presence over distraction. These weren't rules imposed from outside. They were promises whispered from my future self to my present moment, agreements made in the sanctuary of dawn. 8 years is both a lifetime and a single breath, depending on how you measure transformation. Let me tell you not about what I achieved, but about who I became. I evolved from someone who made excuses to someone who finds ways. From someone who started projects like collecting autumn leaves, beautiful intentions that crumbled at the first strong wind, to someone who finishes what he begins. The external achievements, becoming a pilot, crafting words that touch hearts, these were simply the natural expression of an internal revolution. When you change your morning, you change your mind. When you change your mind, you change your life. But the deepest transformation was this: I learned to trust myself. Each kept promise built evidence that I was someone worth betting on. Each completed ritual whispered to my soul, you are becoming who you were meant to be. There were seasons when illness kept me from my ritual for days, even weeks. But during those times, I discovered something beautiful. Missing the ritual felt like missing a dear friend. It had become not a burden I carried, but a gift I gave myself. This is how you know a practice has taken root in your soul: when skipping it feels like betraying yourself, not because of guilt, but because of love. The ritual had rewired more than my habits. It had rewired my identity. Modern science has given us beautiful language for ancient wisdom. When we speak of neuroplasticity, we're describing what mystics have always known: that we are not fixed beings, but flowing rivers of possibility. Each morning ritual was carving new channels in the landscape of my mind. Neuroplasticity. Every repeated action was like water finding its path down a mountain, gradually creating permanent streams of thought and behavior. Habit formation in the hippocampus. That ancient keeper of memories was learning new songs of possibility, new rhythms of who I could become. Dopamine optimization. That simple reward after my ritual was teaching my brain's most primitive systems to crave growth rather than comfort. Mental energy conservation. By making mornings automatic, I freed my consciousness for deeper work, like clearing debris from a river so the water could flow more powerfully. Stress transformation. The consistency transformed my amygdala from a panicked guardian into a trusted advisor. Predictability became the soil in which peace could grow. Self-mastery strengthening. Each small victory strengthened what researchers call executive function, but what I experience as the quiet confidence that comes from being someone who keeps promises to himself. The ancient Stoics spoke of preferred indifference, external things that matter less than our response to them. This ritual taught me that I am not at the mercy of circumstances, but the author of my responses to them. There are 3 levels to all transformation, like 3 sacred chambers in the Temple of Change. The outer chamber, results. This is where most seekers get trapped, chasing outcomes like children chasing butterflies. Important, but not the source. The middle chamber, process. Here we find habits and systems, the sacred rituals that shape our days. Closer to truth, but still not the deepest mystery. The inner chamber, identity. This is the Holy of Holies, where we discover not what we do, but who we are. This is where real transformation lives. Most people try to change from outside in. I want to be healthy, so I'll exercise. But wisdom traditions teach us to change from inside out. I am someone who honors my body, so moving becomes natural. Every morning when I completed my ritual, I wasn't just meditating or reading or writing. I was casting a vote for my identity. I was saying to the universe, I am someone who keeps promises to himself. I am someone who invests in his own becoming. After thousands of such votes over 8 years, this identity became unshakable. I don't use willpower to meditate anymore. I meditate because that's who I am. I don't force myself to read. I read because that's what people like me do. This is the secret the mystics knew. Change your identity, and your actions will follow like rivers following the ocean's call. Try to change your actions without changing your identity, and you'll be forever swimming upstream. And now, dear soul, we arrive at the most important moment of our journey together. Not the moment when you learned about my ritual, but the moment when you decide what to do with this wisdom. I will not ask you to transform your entire morning tomorrow. That would be asking you to betray everything we've discovered about the gentle nature of true change. Instead, I invite you to choose one sacred act. Perhaps 2 minutes of conscious breathing. Perhaps reading a single page of wisdom. Perhaps writing one grateful thought upon waking. But here's what I ask. Commit to this one small act for 30 days. Not as a task to complete, but as a daily appointment with your becoming self. In the first 3 days, you'll feel the excitement of new beginnings. Days 4 through 10, the novelty will fade. This is where most abandon the path. Days 11 through 20, it will begin to feel natural, though resistance will still whisper in your ear. But days 21 through 30, this is where magic lives. This is where the practice stops being something you do and becomes something you are. When you've walked this path for 30 days, return to these words. Leave a comment that simply says, I kept my promise to myself. Not for me to see, but for your soul to witness. Because that comment will be evidence of something precious. You have become someone who can trust yourself. The ancient Chinese say that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Your transformation doesn't begin when you feel ready. It begins when you begin. This is your moment, dear soul. What sacred act will you choose? What small promise will you make to the person you are becoming? The morning is waiting, and so is the person you're meant to be.